but I don't want to have a squirrel farm or a tusa farm. Tusas are pocket gophers, where all of it just goes away to feed these animals I don't even particularly enjoy. I am going to build owl boxes. This is a natural solution for tusas and I don't know about squirrels, but we have great horned owls here. That's a resource. And there's designs online for how to build, what size to build different owl boxes. And probably there's advice on where to place them. But I'd be placing them up in trees or in barn-like places. I don't have a ton. I mean, who knows? Maybe I could give someone one in Yotatiro on the edge of town. But that's a natural killer to balance the system out. And owls are cavity nesters, meaning they don't make their own house. They're not capable to make their own house. I don't know how they survived before there was barns, but or I guess but they need like holes in trees and stuff. And so the owl boxes provide them housing they couldn't otherwise have. The carpinteros, woodpeckers are very similar. They have two targets right now, and one target is any dead old tree. Well, I don't have a lot of dead old trees. Sometimes one will get hit by lightning in a place that I don't think it'll bug anybody, and it'll die. And then I'll leave it there and see what happens. And then, sure enough, the woodpeckers have a great time, and they make lots of housing. They're very efficient, and it makes me happy to have provided it. 2 times now, near the rabbit house and near Ecstasy, I have left a dead snag too near a house. Now, neither of them hit the house, but the first one messed up the trail to the house and was just generally messy, and it took us a little while to clean it up. Those cleanups should be really quick and thorough. All roads and trails should be kept clear. That's like a rule of society. And if one's not clear, then people should help out in whatever way or be paid to do it, or it doesn't matter. It gets cleared. In the other case, there was one that was, I thought, maybe far enough from a house. There was only one house, right? And it could have gone 360 degrees, the tree, when it eventually fell. Because we know these trees are going to fall, right? They're dead pine trees. And so that one ended up falling right onto a spot where someone sits at that house, almost reached the house, and the only reason it didn't smash the house is because the top of it had fallen off earlier. But it like hit exactly like where the door was. It opened the door even, I think. That's what I got told. I didn't see it. And it took a few days again to clean it up. Those things got to be cleaned up right away. It's an emergency situation for the person living there, and it freaks them out. The bigger message, though, isn't how to clean up a snag that falls near a house. The bigger message is don't have any pine trees in anywhere that you have to truss them. Or, if you do, make sure they're nice and straight or lean away from the house into nothingness. Although if they lean any, then I don't know, it's suspicious. But my general thought is near houses, take them down, unless you know you have a management plan for it later. Because in a storm, those things whip around, and they don't have very thick root systems in some cases. And so a oak tree will never fall down next to your house, barring some bizarre circumstances I can't think of at the moment. But a pine tree will fall on stuff, and they're hard once they get big to take out. And so what we're looking at is imagining the future and sculpting a pine tree forest that has a lot of biomass, as most biomass as you can get, also productive areas for lumber and stuff. So decide what the meaning of every grove is and what rules we interact with it using. We have this ability. We're not just, tribalists, although they had a lot of time to think about this stuff and they had a lot of time to talk about it. But we can actually write the book on how to treat land here, and then have that book reviewed by other people and have them say, well, in my climate, that part doesn't work that way. So they can build on it with their own reactions to it. Hopefully intelligent, nice, useful reactions. Because I'm not a total expert. I am by comparison to what I was. And I, in some ways, I certainly know more probably than a forestry student. Because I've met students, and some of them don't know very much, or they don't agree with me, certainly, because I have some unconventional ideas. And I read a lot of unconventional ideas. So if all they got is the textbook knowledge, they're not going to understand what I'm saying unless they unlearn what they think they learned. Although they should always question what I think and say, of course. And then we should write that down. The goal is the truth. I'm not on the side although I've got some big kind of ethos I live by. I've got rules for how I deal with things, you know. And I don't always follow them. It's really hard. Like I should pick up all the seeds everywhere every year and then get those seeds to anywhere that they can be, either here or somewhere else where they're of high use. Depends on the seeds of what, of course. But it's such a complex place. And that's why, like, it's even bad that I don't have names for all of these locations. I do have a GPS. I could probably GPS in the car and drive around. Some places are hard to drive. Well, some places you can't drive. And I do have old GPS information. So I could still, you know, take and make a graphic and then have a zoom in thing, you know, show the zoom into it. That would work with like a rectangle and some lines down to the other spot. And say, okay, well, this is this place, and at least name them letters for now. And then later on, and write about them, right? Like, how does that connect to everything else? What is your evaluation of this piece of land? And then you can make decisions about what to do with it. Some of these plat maps, in a sense, are arbitrary. I know the land the best, and Cellino's probably second, and he knows it in a different way than I do. So it's possible I would also I would record my thoughts. Then I would walk around with him and tell him my thoughts, and he would tell me his thoughts, because he has different thoughts than I do. But he loves this land, and he knows that I love it, and so he's interested in helping to sculpt it for ideal use, you know.